Introduction. I've been mugged more times than I can count. And before you think I'm the unluckiest guy on the planet, let me clarify, I do it on purpose. Whenever I travel in the world, I deliberately put myself in situations where criminals will target me. Why? Because you can't teach what you haven't tested. And here's what I've discovered. Every single attack, whether it's a mugging, robbery, or assault, follows the exact same 4-step pattern. Every single time. If you understand these steps, you can stop an attack before it ever reaches the violent stage. Here is some history. I follow what I call the ninja philosophy. If a technique gets you killed, it gets pulled from the system. If you come back alive, what you used worked, and it stays in the curriculum for generations. I've tested these principles on 6 continents and dozens of countries against real criminals in real situations. Not in a dojo, not in theories on the streets where it matters. What I'm about to share with you isn't academic theory. This is battle-tested knowledge that could save your life. And I'm going to illustrate it with a story from India that perfectly demonstrates all 4 steps in action. The 4-step pattern overview. Here's the pattern every attack follows. Step 1, you're in the wrong place at the right time. Step 2, you're noticed and approached. Step 3, the conversation begins. This is where most people make fatal mistakes. Step 4, violence becomes imminent. The good news? Each step gives you multiple opportunities to escape. The bad news? Most people don't recognize the steps until it's too late. Let me tell you about the time I almost became a statistic on an Indian highway. The Mumbai-Pune Expressway. Step 1, wrong place, right time. I was in India with my CFO when our driver suddenly pulled over a flat tire. But this wasn't just bad luck. The tire had nails deliberately driven through it. Someone had set a trap on that stretch of highway. Step 1 is about vulnerability creation. Sometimes it's your fault you're distracted, not using situational awareness, leaving yourself exposed. Sometimes it's circumstance, mechanical failure, wrong turn, emergency situation. But here's the key, step 1 is when you still have the most options. In our case, I immediately noticed something was wrong. The spare tire was also flat. That's not coincidence. Across 4 lanes of highway, groups of young men were watching us. They weren't casual observers. Your awareness in step 1 determines everything that follows. Miss the warning signs here, and you're setting yourself up for the next 3 steps. Step 2, noticed and approached. Step 2 is target selection and approach. The groups across the highway weren't just watching anymore, they were arguing. About what? About who was going to risk running across 4 lanes of traffic to rob us. This is where predator psychology kicks in. They've identified us as targets, but they're calculating risk versus reward. I didn't make it easy for them either. I kept moving from one end of the car to the other, staying mobile, staying alert. The key insight, criminals want easy targets. The more difficult you make their approach, the more likely they are to find someone else. But if you're isolated, if you look vulnerable, if you're distracted. In our case, we were trapped. Behind us was a swamp, traffic on both sides. I had to find defensible ground because I knew we were moving to step 3. Step 3, the conversation. Step 3 is the most critical phase, and it's where most people get it completely wrong. 2 young guys started their sprint across the highway toward us. They wanted money. Simple, right? Wrong. Step 3 isn't about what they want, it's about psychological positioning. This is where you either take control of the situation or surrender it completely. I told them I was an Interpol police officer. Which I wasn't, but I needed to paint the picture I wanted them to see. I started going through the motions of arresting them. Why? Because step 3 is your last chance to avoid step 4. Here's what most people don't understand. The conversation phase is about power dynamics, not negotiation. You're either establishing dominance or accepting victim status. There's no middle ground. I positioned my CFO behind me, out of the line of fire, because I saw the reserves coming, 2 more men running across the highway. That's when I knew we were headed for step 4. Step 4, violence imminent. You know you're entering step 4 when the profanity starts. When the disrespect comes out, when they stop pretending to be reasonable, violence is seconds away. At this point, you have two choices: give them what they want, or take control of the situation before they do. There is no third option. I chose control. I moved forward to the larger of the two and executed a non-lethal nerve attack to a takedown, keeping his body between me and his partner. I had to maintain control while dealing with the second attacker, all while dragging the first guy along the rough concrete. But here's the part one could never have predicted: the second pair that showed up weren't reinforcements for the robbers. They were real Interpol officers who'd been tracking this highway robbery operation. Sometimes even the instructor gets surprised. They arrested both criminals, apologized for the incident, and stayed until our driver returned with a repaired tire. I even had dinner with them a few days later. Key lessons. Here's what this story teaches us about the 4-step pattern. Step 1, recognition. I knew something was wrong immediately: nails in the tire, flat spare, observers across the highway. Trust your instincts. Step 2, response. I stayed mobile, made myself a difficult target, but prepared for the inevitable because we were trapped. Step 3, control. I took psychological control of the conversation, established a power dynamic that favored me, and positioned for step 4. Step 4, action. When violence became imminent, when the profanity started, I acted first. I didn't wait for them to initiate. Every mugging, every attack I've experienced or witnessed follows this exact pattern. Understanding it gives you multiple exit points before violence ever occurs. Practical application. So how do you use this knowledge? At step 1, develop situational awareness. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. At step 2, make yourself a hard target. Stay mobile, stay alert, look for escape routes. At step 3, control the conversation. Don't negotiate, don't plead. Either comply completely or take charge completely. At step 4, if violence is inevitable, act first. The person who initiates action has the advantage. Remember, each step gives you opportunities to escape. The goal is never to reach step 4. Conclusion. I've shared this pattern with law enforcement, military personnel, and civilians around the world. It works because predators are predictable. They follow the same psychological process every time. This is just a preview of what we're covering in the Defender Confidence series. Next week, we'll dive deep into the wheelchair warrior principle: how to project unshakable confidence regardless of physical limitations. Knowledge is power, but only if you act on it. Practice situational awareness. Trust your instincts. And remember, you have more control over these situations than you think. Stay safe, stay aware, and stay confident.